Hey guys, it's Kristen with ICStarsQuilting.com, and I am coming today to you from the floor. Okay, this is where I keep all of my scrap fabrics, and I'm going to show you a little bit more of how I store them and all of that in just a second. But today we're going to talk about how to use your scrap fabrics and how to turn them into projects so that you're not just storing them, you're actually using them and sewing with them, and you're using every single little piece of fabric that you bought with your precious sewing and crafting budget. So it's going to be an exciting class. I hope that you get a lot out of this. Do email me if you have any questions or if there's anything that you need further explanation on. I am definitely happy to help you with that. Let's get started. Okay, so if I'm going to make a scrap quilt and I know that I want to use things that I already have on hand, I kind of like to start off with like a general kind of brainstorming session. Like what am I wanting this what am I wanting this quilt to be? What am I wanting it to do? Am I wanting to simply use up all the fabric that I don't like anymore and I don't really care what it looks like? Or do I want this to look like it was a very well thought out, very planned, very spontaneous kind of crazy mix of patterns and colors that all come together and all culminate into this beautiful work of art? Okay, that's two different quilts, right? That's two different projects, and the way that you're going to plan them is going to be very, very different. So what I like to do first, before I really like start diving into, well, you know, what colors am I going to pick? If I'm going to mix patterns, before you get into that, you need to see what you have. I suggest, if you haven't gotten some type of system in mind already, figure out a way to organize your scraps, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. They don't have to be folded. There are some people who like to cut their scraps as soon as they're done with the project that they're working on and they have leftover fabric. They cut their scraps into organized and defined pieces so that when you go to make a quilt, it's already 5-inch squares, or it's already 2.5-inch squares, or it's rectangles, or it's jelly roll strips or something. That's fantastic. Most of the time I am not that organized, and hopefully one day I will be that organized because I have a friend who is, and I love to look through her box of 5-inch squares and know that, I mean, she could probably make like 40 quilts out of those squares, but they're gorgeous, right? And I could very easily and very quickly pull together a quilt using those squares, and it's just out of leftover fabric, right? She didn't have to go and buy anything for it. She's already got it on hand, and it's perfect to pull together. Okay, so let's start with where I keep my scrap fabric. So I have this big tool chest thing here. I don't know what the official term of it is, but it was meant to be like a garage / tool storage thing. I bought it and turned it into a craft cabinet. So down in this lower section, I have these bins right here that I got from IKEA, and each one of them, I put a little label on it so that I know kind of where my scraps go. Please ignore that mess up there. That's called me being lazy and not actually putting my scraps where they go, or I was working on a project and it didn't get put where it was supposed to go. But these categories are by no means like official quilt organizing, scrap organizing categories. It's just what made sense in my head. So we're going to go through these, and I'm going to kind of pull together a bit of some scraps to show you what you could actually match up for a quilt. So start by looking through your scraps and seeing what you have. You know, like this, for instance, I have a pretty good size piece here. I could cut this into jelly roll strips. I could cut it into squares. I could, fussy cut some of like these little diamond like in the middle here, or I could do like the circles around it. This one is kind of the same thing. It's about the same size. Okay. I also have some jelly roll strips in here. I'm looking on top of the ones that I have not put away yet. I have some bigger chunks in here, and I also have some smaller ones. Don't put it off and think that you're going to put it away later, because chances are you're probably not going to put it away later. So, I have some like this that's like, it's not very even, but I could use like a small section of it and it would make a really pretty quilt. So, I'm just kind of going through the top stuff here. This is not enough to roll back up, but I have a pretty good section of it. You know, if you run across pieces like this that are pretty good sized pieces of fabric, you could easily take that and go, okay, I like this. I'm feeling something warm with this quilt, okay? I'm feeling like I want it nice, warm, beachy, sunny colors. I'm thinking reds, golds, yellows, you know, just from seeing this one piece of fabric. Now, can you see it's kind of got like a little bit of a texture to it, right? Okay, so I'm thinking warms, golds, beachies, okay? This is the type of look that I want this quilt to go for. Now, if you don't have a ton of scraps, it's gonna be pretty easy to pick what you're going for, all right? You know, if warm tones aren't your thing, maybe you want to go for like cool tones. You know, maybe I want to pick this this pinky tone out of here and go with something for that. This isn't quite enough for me to go on just yet, but you know, think about it. This could possibly go in like the warm tone and do like a nice sunny quilt. So I kind of like to start with themes. And then if all of my fabrics kind of fit into that theme, the general idea of the quilt actually works, and it does. It goes together well. So, you know, let's dive in a little bit more and see what we can come up with, because I haven't gone through all of these, like deep dug through them in a while. So, you know, let's see what else we can come up with and see if something starts to pop out. You know, you may have a theme in mind, such as I want to do rainbow. Okay, that's easy. Just start picking out all the colors. Let me tell you something else. There isn't anything that doesn't match. The only thing that makes you go, oh my God, that doesn't match, is your own personal preference regarding those particular colors, okay? Now, if you get into something like browns and pinks and like a pea green and, you know, kind of like a muddy, mucky color palette, maybe it's not gonna be the bright, happy color palette that you're going for. And in that case, you would have chosen the wrong colors. But, you know, think about what you're doing this quilt for, who you're making it, even if it's not a quilt, if it's just a project or a bag or you know, a table runner or something. You know, think about who you're making it for and what the intended purpose of it is. Now, stripes, polka dots, all of that stuff, it gets an A-okay from me, okay? But if it's going into a very, very fancy home, it may not be the right place for it, okay? So if you're making it for somebody else, think about where this project of yours that you're creating, where's its final home gonna be? Is it gonna be on the table or on the kitchen table of like a really, really good family friend who's gonna look at that and think of you every single time they see it and they're gonna love it, okay? Or is it gonna be like a display piece in a really, really fancy modern home that is not going to be as, let's just say, welcoming to the shabby chic look of like mixing all the polka dots and the stripes and the triangles and all of that, you know? So like, there is no right or wrong when you're mixing patterns, and I want you to get that in your head. There is no right or wrong. The only thing that makes it wrong is perhaps your personal tastes, like we talked about, and the environment that it's in, you know? Not everything is going to match everywhere. That's just like if you were to pop into, you know, Home Goods or Target or any of your typical place, any of your typical shopping places, not everything in that store is going to be the perfect thing that's going to go into your house and match your decor. Some of it might, but some of it might not. So think about that when you're making this, and do not be so hard on yourself when you're mixing patterns and prints and stuff. So, okay, that was a long tangent, but it's important that you remember that, okay? Nothing in particular doesn't go. Nothing in particular is wrong, so to speak. So once you kind of like, whew, take that pressure off of yourself, it gets a little bit easier to say, you know, let's experiment. Let's see. And honestly, if it's not the right piece, we're working with scraps, Okay, and now you don't want to waste any of this good stuff. Okay, you don't want to waste this stuff. You want to make sure that it is used and its final purpose is the right purpose for it. But it's not like you're having to go out and buy a ton of new fabrics and make this work and, you know, hope and pray that all of this money that you just put out is actually going to be the perfect match. Okay. Another thing that you can do when you're working with scraps is, you know, again, this kind of goes against working with scraps, but go and purchase, say, a few yards or however much, depending on the pattern that you're using, of a very neutral tone fabric, okay? By incorporating a lot of one type of fabric all over, whether you use it in small pieces or whether you use it in like the borders or you frame your blocks with it or something, it's going to help kind of tie everything together in your piece. It's going to help make it where everything kind of is cohesive, right? You have a little bit of this neutral color up here or down here. It doesn't have to be like straight like whites or tans or grays or blacks. You know, your neutral could be a dark red for your quilt, and everything else kind of has those tones in it, but that red is going to be consistent throughout. Same as if you did like a hot pink or something all throughout and you did like little pieces of it everywhere. As long as it's consistent throughout your quilt, it's going to make your eye feel like everything actually goes together. Okay, now I have a much longer course on this whole idea of color palette and how to work with colors, how to pick your quilt color palette and all of that. If you're interested in that, let me know and I will send you the link for it. It's like I said, it's a lot more in depth. There's a lot more color theory to it because I was definitely the color theory nerd in school. Okay, I love it. You know, some people have their zones where they're just, I mean, like they get it, right? And color theory was that for me. I loved it. So I go into a little bit more in depth on color theory, why certain colors work together, how to make it work for you. And if it's something that you really do want to get into, I can help you with that. Today we're going to focus on scrap fabrics and stuff that you already have in your stash right now. Okay, so let's dig through and let's see what we can find. Okay, let's say I go with my original idea when I found this kind of orangey, very textured piece of fabric here, and I have a pretty good chunk of it, right? So that I know that like this could kind of carry throughout my quilt. It could make it appear more cohesive throughout. You know, I don't really have a pattern in mind just yet. We're just going to kind of pull together some fabrics to work with. Now, if you're working with a pattern, you're going to have to work with fabric requirements as well. But like I have this extra piece here of this one and I have quite a bit here. And let's go with my original gut feeling of I want to do a color palette with some nice, warm, sunny colors. Now, I have not looked through my fabric boxes. You're going to see this happen absolutely unplanned, you know, no idea what I'm doing here, but I like these two together. It does make me feel nice and warm and sunny. So let's go with that. Now, if you store your fabrics the way that I do, you are going to have a little bit of ironing involved, but you know, let's see what I have here. And I'm going to just start with, I know I don't typically use a lot of oranges and yellow fabrics, so I may have to supplement a little bit with some other areas of the rainbow that are still going to go really well with this. It's going to give it that very scrappy look and kind of unplanned and, you know, a little off the wall as far as like not being perfectly coordinated fabrics, but it is going to go well together. So I have these. I also happen to have a few of these other scraps that I found in there while I was looking. So I've got some nice, see this kind of pulls in a little bit more darker, a little bit more red. This is kind of in the same orange-ish family here, not going too yellow or too red. And that can be really good. I may take this and I may cut it into like strips, you know, and maybe make like a jelly roll mat or something out of it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. But I'm going to gather all my fabrics, see what I have, and then see what I would need to make a quilt out of it. Okay, so I'm going to pull this to the side, and then I'm going to show you our first box. This is my red and pink box. So in it, I have all kinds of different things here. You know, I'm thinking warm, happy, sunny. This one might work. You know, I'm gonna pull it aside because I've got a good chunk of this fabric here. You know, not a ton. I can't make an entire quilt out of it, but it could definitely work as an accent or a scrappy bit in there, and you know, pull in some of the yellows and oranges. But this would be a good medium fabric that would also allow me to pull in some of the other colors of the rainbow while still keeping this a really sunny, happy quilt. Okay. You know, I've got like pieces like this that they don't really scream happy and sunny to me. So I'm going to kind of toss those around, see what else I have in here. Again, this is my reds and pinks, so it may not have what I'm looking for, but let's see. This one, not really feeling that one. Let's keep going. This is really fun, but I don't feel like it's the right project for it. It's that could be like a maybe if I'm kind of, oh look, here's another piece of it. If I'm kind of desperate at the very end. So you may find that you have some pieces like that as well, that like if I'm desperate at the end and I still need some more and I don't have exactly what I'm looking for, I may pull this one out. But for right now, I'm gonna leave it as that, and I am just going to pull out this rainbow one. So there's the color palette so far. Okay, here is my orange and yellow box. Now, I don't do a whole lot of orange and yellow. I tend to go more cool tones or pinks, but I do have some in here that can help. So you see, by organizing by color kind of helps me because I know more or less what I'm looking for. Like this, the grays kind of are like, I don't know, they feel kind of cloudy to me, so I probably won't use that, but like I could use this little bit of star. However, I don't think I want to use like little pieces. I'm thinking maybe either strips of something or, ooh, look, this is from a binding. Isn't that binding adorable? Can you see that, like folded over in a quilt? This was a really, really cute binding. And I apparently had a little bit extra, so I saved it. But, you know, I'm thinking I want to do strips for this quilt. So like this one could work. You know, if I do like jelly roll strips in this, that could work. Maybe peachy colors could work, but I still want to like yield more towards the yellows. I like this. This could definitely work. Adding some polka dots in there. I wouldn't necessarily put these next to each other in like a big giant focal quilt, you know, making these the focal fabrics rather. But in a scrappy quilt, it's not going to bother me if they're next to each other, right? Because they don't necessarily have to match. You know, like I said, I wouldn't make this like my two main fabrics in a big quilt, but they will go together in a scrappy quilt. So let's keep digging, see if we find something else that screams, yay, happy, happy, sunshiny. Ooh, look at that. That's cute. That could work for our sunshine quilt. Let's see. This, that's kind of dull. It also has kind of like a green tint to it. I'm afraid it would not show up as well. I love this fabric right here. I'm actually too in love with it to use it on on this quilt here where I'm making something sunshiny. I think there's something more amazing is out there for that fabric. This one, to me, doesn't really rock with the modern sunshine vibes. It's a little too antique-y with those hand-drawn flowers. So I told you there's not much coming out of the yellow and orange bin. Let's move on. Okay, bonus, I found this gorgeous kind of speckledy, a little bit of gold in there, a little bit of blue. You see those speckles right in there, a little bit of blue in there. That will definitely go for our sunshine quilt. This is the blue and green. So already I don't have a ton of yellow and orange fabrics, but we're still going to continue with that sunshiny vibe, and we're going to move on, and I'm going to pull in some other colors here that are still going to flow, and it'll all work out. So this is probably the bin that I like pilfer through the most. So I have no idea if we'll find anything that will work. Look at this. This is really, really bright, sunny, kind of springtimey green, right? So I honestly think this could work in this quilt, okay? So I'm going to put it in my pile over there because it's really bright. It kind of is, it's not necessarily yellow sunshine, but it does fit in with that. And, you know, your theme for your quilt may change a little bit over time. I was trying to think if I could like take this one and if I cut it into strips, would it work? It might. It might, but I'm gonna go and put it in the maybe pile. But you know, your theme may change over time. You know, like I was saying, like sunshine and all of that before, but I just kind of got like perhaps it's like a springtime garden feel to it. I just got that feel as well. So it may shift over time if I don't have enough. This is also very, I don't know, blue skies. You know, that kind of reminds me of that like blue skies look to it. So we'll go with that. And not feeling that one. That one I think is too small. Yeah, I have some good stuff in here. See these? These are so cute. I love those. Now, don't get distracted in your own scrap piles here. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving on. We're finding stuff. Ooh. No, I don't feel like that one's the right one either. Okay, moving on. Okay, now this is my purple box. And yep, like I thought, I don't have a ton of purple either, so I definitely stashed something else in here when I started working on this, and it did not turn out the way that I wanted. This was a bunch of other scraps from my floor pillow that I did, and I just tried to sew them together, and it didn't turn out right. But this is my purple box. There's not a whole lot in here. There's little scraps and squares and stuff, but I don't think I'm gonna find anything in here for my beautiful sunshine happy quilt. So that's okay. We'll keep going. Okay, this one is blacks and whites. So this is now where we're getting into like the neutrals, okay? Now I'm just going by what I have in my scraps. You may have a ton more scraps to go through, and it may even be like you're not actually like pulling from, you know, pieces that are like this, but you may be going shopping on your shelves, okay? And your actual like stash of fabric, not just your scraps. But I like to start with the scraps. Now this is a really good neutral. Like I was saying, pick something that can kind of tie throughout the whole quilt. This is probably my favorite color right here. But you know, find something that can work throughout your quilt. So neutrals are not bad. I use this fabric a lot too. If you recognize it, that's because I use it a ton. Let's see, I like this, but it's kind of small and perhaps not black and white stripes. I kind of like this white. It's thin. It's very thin white. Actually, you can can you see, look, you can see the piano keys like right through it. But I think maybe a white would work. This one could work as a neutral or a filler. Perhaps I'm going to put that into the maybe pile and keep digging in here. Oh look, I have some of that, like my favorite neutral here. It's not really a gray. It's not really a white. It's not really like a tan or anything. It's a very like, I don't know, I call it bone. I forget what the actual term is, but it's like, it's not ivory or anything. It's a really pretty color. But I have some strips of that already cut. I know I said I wasn't going to go floral, but no. So, which you can't see off camera. Hold on. Let me pick up my mess here and show you what I'm doing. So I have this pile of fabrics that I've kind of put together, right? Perhaps this one is not right. You see how like when I pull this away, this one is definitely, I'm not liking this one as much anymore. Like it could be like a springtime florally one, but I'm definitely thinking, you know, bright sunshiny colors now. So if I look at it like, you know, blue skies, sunshine, fire, beautiful colors, some nice rainbow rays in here to keep it nice and happy. The green, not so much, but it's not terrible. Okay, see, like, look, if I take this green away, whoops, let me show my other ones that I have down here at the bottom too that are kind of getting hidden. If I take the green away, it does feel a little bit more sunshiny. If I take this away, it's definitely in that sunshine palette. But if I add it back, it's not terrible. And if I add this back, nope, I don't like it. So, you know, you may find that like it has to kind of change over time. I like to just put things down and see it and see like, does this go with my overall theme? If it does, then it stays. If it doesn't, then it goes away and we don't have to see it again. But I'm going to leave the green out just in case, and I'm going to put this other one out just in case, because I have like a couple more boxes. No, I have one more box left, and that is my lots of color. That's my box where like, I don't know what category this fabric fits in, but I'm going to make it work and make its own box. Okay, let's scoot these out of the way and go through my last lots of color box. Like literally it's lots of color. See that? So, this one is probably going to have some really fun. See, here's this one again. And now I kind of like it when I see it in smaller. Okay, we're going to add that over there because it's just a small piece of it. It would be nice if I could use that. Now I have this one that's like kind of all weird cut up, but it's this right golden color for a beautiful sunshine quilt, right? So I'll add that over there. Some of this box has like really beautiful like silks and stuff that are not really the best for quilting. This one, if I can get it open, here we go. I would say this would definitely be sunshine. Like, wouldn't you? Look at that. It's very bright and gold, has some nice oranges in it. It does have the blue, so it might help coordinate that raindrop fabric that we have right there. It might help coordinate and pull in that. So, I mean, I know we have like the, that feels like not the right direction. I know we have so many different options and so many different colors that you don't want to just make your rainbow, you know, all over everything, but you can add in some other colors. These are gorgeous silk pieces that again are not like conductive to your typical quilts and mixing them with cotton fabrics, but aren't they gorgeous? I love them so much. Okay, getting distracted in my own bin again. Here we go. Okay, I think that's all we're going to find out of there. And I also do tend to use my scraps a lot, so they're not always full and have plenty of options. Okay, let's take another look at what we have here. So I just pulled this one out and it's kind of a mess. So let me pull this, kind of get it where it's controlled a bit. Now, try and get where I can see a lot of my fabrics without covering a bunch of them up. Now, if you can see, I think it's the blue in this one, this kind of like teal color that's making me not necessarily like it. But if you can see, like by, let me see if I can do it this way. Maybe that's a little bit easier for you to see. You can see that like by adding this fabric in right here, you know, these blues pick up. It also allows this like raindrop fabric to go in really pretty, which also coordinates with the bright green. So all of these mismatchy kind of crazy bits of fabric suddenly kind of come together, you know. You may not use as much of this blue as you do this bright yellow fabric. Okay, this could be like your neutral that goes all the way throughout your quilt, such as same as with this one right here, this very first fabric that we started with. Now, what I have here is not enough to make a quilt, and I am going to X this one and say, nope, I think it's the pink. Maybe it's the pink that's not jiving with the oranges. Even though it has a little bit of orange right here, I'm still not in love with that one. So if you're not in love with it, it goes, okay? Because you're going to forever critique yourself and say, I should not have put that one in there. I should not have put it in there. So, like I said, I really like all of these together. This bright green, it's going to stay. Now, I don't have enough here to make a really, really big quilt. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to my actual like rolled up fabric stash, and we're going to pull from there and see if we can come up with a nice neutral that will go with all of these and kind of tie it all together in a nice sunshiny quilt. Okay, here we go. Here is my quilt cabinet. I'm going to open this up, and this is where I keep all of my fabric that is in yardage, or at the very least there is probably a half yard on each of these rolls here. Some of them more, some of them less, but I kind of have like star fabric organized up there, as well as, oh, look at that. Here's a couple jelly rolls I could steal from here because these are extras. So here's something that I could definitely use. I could definitely use that orange. I could probably pull in, you know, there's a few more in there I might could pull from. So I'm going to put that aside and pull from that in a minute. And then keep looking. Like I have a nice kind of tie-dye-ish looking orange there that I could pull from. Let's see, what else do I have? I see some yellow back in there. That's not quite the feel that I'm going for on this one, but yeah, up here is all of my star fabrics, and I have a video on YouTube on all of the way I organize my fabrics. Right now, they definitely need to be reorganized because I've just kind of shoved everything where it would fit. And like right here is a works in progress. I still need to like frame these out. I love these, but this one I did frame out really pretty. You may recognize that. And then I have some like, you know, good for backing fabrics here. Around here, look at this. These won't even fit on there just yet. I really need to reorganize my fabrics. But I have all of these fabrics here that I can pull from because I know that I have used my scrap fabrics already. So I've already pilfered through that. And now I can continue to look through some other stuff. Now I have, let's see. Oh, there's one more row that I'm not showing you yet. I'm not trying to like hide anything from you here. But you know, this one maybe, you see this one right here? That one might be. But, you know, just because it's over here doesn't mean that I'm not able to use it. Like, I could definitely come over here and start looking through all of these fabrics and see if I could find something that would work. Like, perhaps this, like, rainbow stripe or something could be a really good border for my project. Or this one has, like, a rainbow chevron look to it. That one could work. It doesn't have to be just like yellow or a red or something. I could look for like, you know, this neutral is a gray right here. That's a really good one. I could go a little bit more themed and do something with like, this one has like peaches and different citrusy things on it. That one's Halloween. We don't want that. This one's actually really pretty. Look at that. It's a nice rainbow. That's going to make a beautiful binding someday when I find the right project for it. Some more neutrals in here. You know, you just have to kind of go through your stuff. I just want to stress that just because you're pulling from your actual fabric stash does not mean that you're not doing an actual scrappy quilt. So if you want to be like really, really strict with it, you can, but you set the rules, right? So it doesn't have to be just from your scrap stash. If you end up needing a little bit more, it's okay. If you have a ton of scraps and you can keep going with it or change the size of your project, that's totally fine as well. I think some of this could go with that well, kind of pull in some more yellows. So that is a maybe, but a probably yes. So hopefully that kind of helped you, like, look, here's some more yellow down here. Hopefully that kind of helps you to see that, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a scrappy quilt if you only use from like your cutoffs and your little bitty pieces of scraps. You can really mix and match your fabrics to make whatever you want, but you have to have a plan. You can't just go and start grabbing stuff unless you want it to be a very scraptastic quilt. Most of the scrap quilts that I do actually do have a plan that goes with them. So okay, so that is that's about it. You know, that's kind of my 2 cents on this topic. And you know, like I said, I really love color. I love bright color, as you can see from a lot of my my scraps that I have in here and that I showed you. And by the way, not very many people get to see the nitty-gritty, the extras and the leftovers of my scraps. So lucky you. But you know, if you have any more questions, again, feel free to email me. I really enjoy doing these little talks with you and kind of giving you a little bit more behind the scenes and helping you use your stash and making sure that you are comfortable and confident in using your fabrics. I look forward to talking to you soon. We'll see you later. Bye.